A big good evening to all of you. And this is DC Celeb Talks on the special day, which is Valentine's Day. We are having a different type of a Valentine's Day celebration where we have parents coming in with queries regarding their parents and their children. Now, this sounds a little paradoxical or a little confusing. Let me introduce my three students to you who are now parents and who have spent their formative years with us at our tutorials. Now, as parents, what is their role? And as their children of their parents, what was their, the playful days that they had in their childhood? We are going to hear about all this. So it's going to be a fun talk, nothing serious, nothing to be taken to heart, and a very simple request to all of you, because you may have to show these videos to your children. So please don't give sermons, because you never like to listen to sermons, and so your children do not obviously going to like it. Let me actually pass on the introduction mic to all of you. So one by one, you can introduce yourself. We'll start with Bhagyashri, ladies first. Bhagyashri, Abhishek and Surud have been my students, and they are here today with their respective spouses. We'll start with Bhagyashri. Yeah, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Vaidya Bhagyashri Patil, and I practice Ayurveda in Daisar, Matrewadi. I've been practicing for past 13 years. Overall, I'm a NEMLEKARite, and I'm accompanied by my husband Adit.
Yeah, I'm Adit Shetty, and as Bhagyashri mentioned, I'm her husband, and I'm a software developer. I work for a company named Pearson, which is into education.
Yes, Abhishek.
Good evening, ma'am. So I'm from the 96th batch of NEMLEKARS. A proud student of NEMLEKAR, I would say.
Thank you.
And I work for Kodak. It's been almost 10 years. I've been working for Kodak. My overall experience in the industry has been close to 19 years now. And I'm here today with my wife, Janvi. And over to you, Janvi.
Hi all, this is Janvi here, Varan. I'm working as teacher, used to work in Rustamji, Cambridge only. And then we shifted to Thane, so now working with Shrima School as a second standard teacher.
Very good, very good. Surud, tell us something about yourself.
Yeah, hi, good evening everyone. Hi to all the other participants. This is Surit Pawar here. I have also been with Abhishek. We've been with part of the NEMLEKARS family since '96, so that makes it almost 25 years that we have known each other, and it's been a great association with the family. I am from the advertising field. I work as a associate creative director with a healthcare advertising agency, and over to my wife Shweta.
Hi, hi everyone. My name is Shweta, and I basically am working with Star Prava. I take care of their consumer insights and programming strategy. And yeah, I have been associated with NEMLEKAR as a result of Surut for the past, I think, 10-15 years now. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I would like to tell my Daisar Connect viewers a small, a secret that Shweta has a special link with me. The thing is, her father was my lecturer when I was in SIS college, and he was my lecturer for chemistry. And when I came to know that Surut is getting married to her, I said, "Chalo, it's a very good thing. Like, there's a link somewhere." So we have a special bond there also. I would like to now proceed with our, DC Celeb Talk. The first thing that comes to my mind is all of you have been at our classes. Now, let me tell the viewers something about myself, just a line about myself. I'm Professor Vijaya NEMLEKAR, and I had founded this tutorials, NEMLEKARS Tutorials, in the year 1996. And of course, before that, I was always into teaching since 1988. And 96 onwards, I founded this institute, and I have coached about 10,000 students and more till date, till March 2019, when I said, a big goodbye to the tutorials, which had culminated into a private limited company also. But then I realized that I need some time for myself, for my own special spiritual reading. And that's why now I'm connecting with people. I'm trying to find out more because when you stand on the other side of the fence, you're able to see better. Now coming to all of you, any one of you can start. I mean, we need not go by a gender-wise, preference. So if I can start with Abhishek, because alphabetically he comes first. Can you tell me some? I mean, all of you can tell me some things about memories about your childhood. Yes, Abhishek.
Ma'am, I think the best memory that I ever had for my childhood was the time that we had to go out and play cricket. I mean, just after the school, and then after coming back home, spending a lot of time with friends in the evening. I think that was all about it, and that's a time that I'm really missing today. When I look at even my kid today, I mean, that's not something that she or he is going through. So that's something that I really miss about my childhood.
What
The
about
fun
you,
time.
Janvi? Yeah, fun time. Yeah.
I should go with him only. The same thing. We used to go out the whole day. We used to play a lot, and there was no such thing that "Atami kai karu." The question comes nowadays.
Exactly,
Kids, they are having activities with them, but still, that time we had nothing to do, but nothing to play with. But we used to play a lot, and we had a fun that time. That's the best childhood memory.
Correct, yeah. Childhood memories are like that. Yes, Bhagyashri, tell me something about your childhood.
My childhood memories, I always remember the May vacations the most because they were like without studies, all fun all day, and then playing, having fun. Then I used to stay in Kandarpada from the starting, so we used to play on that Bhavdevi Mandir, that hill,
yes,
right?
yes.
We used to play on those rocks and all. So that was really a very nice thing and a very nice memory.
Very good. Adit, what about you?
Yeah, I mostly remember, after school we used to have Bora and Cola and that ₹1 Pepsi. That is something I still miss. Yeah, and the best thing was, like we used to play most of the times. So, I never thought about food then, unlike now.
What about Suraj?
Yeah, so for me, childhood, like I would agree with Bhagyashri there, saying that May vacations, if you ask any kid of our age, May vacations is something that will always come right on top. For me, that was the time I used to go to my native place with my grandparents, and that I repeat the story. I've repeated about 50 times, or anyone I meet. School used to get over. I think the final exams used to get over at around 4th or the 5th of April, and I used to be in my native place in Ratnagiri the very next morning. And I used to stay there for 2 months or whatever the time was. And June 13th, as you all remember, school used to start. I used to be back home on the 11th of June, with just one day left for buying uniforms and books and all that. So that forms a large chunk of my childhood. In Bombay itself, by home, coming back home, I remember the time that my brother and I used to absolutely wreak havoc at home because both my parents were working and we had the entire house to ourselves. So there was a lot of pots banging around. We used to create our own music and just run around the house. Most important thing I remember is there was a great amount of freedom. And I concur with Abhishek saying that nowadays children find it very difficult. Abhi main kya karu? What do I do now? Back when we were kids, we never had that question. We used to make do with whatever little we had, and there was always something new to explore, something new to discover. So that's I think most of my childhood was spent outdoors, on my cycle, scraping knees and breaking a few bones, some of my own, some of other people. So yeah, it was a great time, and we always look back fondly on those times.
Shweta, your memories?
Yeah. So my childhood memories, what I recollect the most is just fun. I think which is what I'm reading from everyone, right? कि कितना मजा करते थे, how much we used to step out, how much we used to not stay at home. So we have, like, I have grown up in everyone else's house. I have grown up in a chawl setting where we were hardly ever at home. We have eaten in everyone's house. We have known everyone else's families much more than our own families at times. And so that is a sort of difference that I find now when I talk to children. And the dominant thing that they talk about is only studies. Versus in our time, I don't think we used to think about studies. As in, studies was like the last thing that we did, and not that we were bad students to begin with, but it was never the first thing. Our first thing was always like, when do we get home? When do we throw our backpacks away and just go and run and do something or the other and have fun? So that I think I do not know where the paradigm shift has happened, but I think that's...
So what do you see as a difference between you as a child, maybe of, the age of 3, 4 or 5, and your kids who are growing up now? What difference do you find?
One thing that I find is that I don't think my parents ever bothered so much. And I think I have become what the popular term is of a helicopter mom and a helicopter dad, right? Always there, kya kar rahe hain, kyun kar rahe hain, idhar kya ho raha hai, udhar kya ho raha hai, kya khaya, kyun nahi khaya. Versus I don't think our parents even bothered. Like they were like, jao, jo karna hai karo. But now, like I just keep trying to think, why has this happened? Now I'm trying to justify it for my own self, thinking that, the world has gone bad. Maybe everyone is not looking for the good for the children, which was a very different scene there, right? Right now it's very difficult, as in they are growing up in much more restricted spaces and much more just restricted lifestyle.
And mindsets as well.
Yeah.
Earlier, our parents knew that there was someone or the other who would take care of our child. Even I distinctly remember there was one incident where my Masi had come over with her family, and my dad, Masi's husband, and I, they took me along because I was just running around crying too much. So, mala pan gheun ja, mala pan gheun ja. So my dad reluctantly took us out, and they were going out to get some chicken and some food or whatever. So along the way, I don't know what happened. Haath chhoot gaya, right? And I suddenly looked around, and my uncle is nowhere to be found. My dad is nowhere, and I'm right in the middle of the street. And obviously, I started crying my eyes out, saying that "Mera baba, daddy, mere ko chhod ke chala gaya." And luckily, Bhagyashree, you might remember Kirloskar Electricals, that store is there. That uncle has been sort of the part of the entire Daisar West family for as long as I can remember. He saw me and he immediately recognized me, saying that, yaad aaya rahe, because he used to work, he has done a lot of work at our place as well. So, being the gentle soul that he is, he picked me up, kept me on his storefront for 5 minutes. He shut down the entire store, put me on his bike, and dropped me home. So, and he dropped me home saying, and in an admonishing tone, he said, "Kaya tumche pura kute phirta, tumhala kai lakshat nahi hai," and then he went away. You know how he is, right? He's very outspoken, but he has a heart of gold. So all of that happened, that entire tamasha happened, and then my dad came home, and then he figured out that all of this has happened. So coming back to what I was saying, our parents, they were always sure that someone is out there looking for our kids.
Correct, yeah.
And like Shweta mentioned, we are growing up in more restricted spaces, more restricted mindsets. We always hear people saying that "Amcha bazula kon rahta, amala mahit nahi hai." And that is a sad state of affairs, because we have become so cloistered in our lives.
Correct. We have no space for others.
Like, go out for work, come back, have a dinner, and go out to sleep. And we don't have that space for others. It's like we are living in these, to use a marketing term, we are living in silos, and we think that anything outside of my protective bubble is going to harm myself or my kids.
Very nicely
put, yeah. But it has its own merits and demerits.
Correct.
So that is one thing that I find quite different in the way that we grew up and the way things are right now.
I would like to ask the two mothers who are here, Janvi as well as Bhagyashree, what is the difference you find, being brought up as a girl, and now the fact that you are bringing up your kids, one of them is a daughter. So what difference do you find? Are there restrictions in their behavior or in the societal behavior towards them?
I feel yes, restrictions are there, but it is there for a good purpose, definitely. And even I feel that whenever I'm telling my daughter that why I'm doing so, or convincing her that why I'm doing so, and she's very much convinced with that. So no issues with the upbringing part comes in when I'm telling her that these are the things which girls are facing nowadays.
Correct.
Okay. And the difference which I see is when I got, to be very frank, when I got my first periods, okay, I was very much frightened, and I was very much confused.
Correct.
Though some part of knowledge was there, but still I was a little bit confused. But when
Correct.
my daughter, and she was very much happy with it. She knew what it is.
Correct.
It is not just because that I told her anything about it. It is because the available source which are available for them nowadays. So that is the difference which I see.
Acha.
I think, ma'am, I'll just add something over here. Today, when we are in the world of internet and everybody is connecting with everyone, as Surut rightly suggested, he showed one flip side of it, that people are not connecting, you know. So we don't talk to each other much. I don't recollect talking to Surut for a very long time now, though we would have chatted sometime or we would have sent a message, hi, hello, and something, but we don't connect the way we used to connect earlier. Yes. And I think that's the major difference. Today, the information is available; it is there at our fingertips. How we use it, or to what extent we use it, I think is more important. Correct. I think going out, meeting people, having no restrictions, meeting your neighbors, going down and playing with your friends, trying to have some kids kitty party, or maybe going out for a small picnic here and there, bringing something, some cooked food from your home, doing something, but getting along together, sharing, caring. I think those are the things which we really miss today. I think when I look at my kids, I definitely see that they are missing all this.
Correct. As what Janvi also said, a very important point that, and we can fuse it with your point also, Abhishek, that children nowadays are more accessible to information. The only thing, as what Janvi said, is they get it from the right source, then they are happy about the changes which are taking place in them. That's a very good point. Bhagyashree, what about you? Because I think your daughter is now, in a few years, she'll be in the early teens. So how are you going to tackle her issues, like as a teenager?
Basically, during my time, my mom used to be slightly on a strict side, and my dad was very lenient with me. I'm an only child, so they used to balance it out very well. I think here again, we are balancing it out very well. In my case and in Adit's case, the thing is, that time parents were not so much vocal about things, whereas from now itself, we are trying in some or the other way to give some kind of hint to Kanika that in future, like what Janvi said, that getting periods and all that when it starts and everything. So in slightest manner, we are trying to give her hints that there are some things that in the future which we need to tell you about, and in a different way, like. Okay. So I think in a way we have already started preparing her, though she's just 8 years now, but still we want her to know every aspect of it.
Correct.
So that when she comes to that point, it shouldn't be something very different that is going to happen. Unlike what happened with us, like me, Janvi, or anyone of that
age group. Yeah. Now, you're taking the same thing further. I would like to ask you, there are certain incidents which have happened in each one of us, in our childhood with each one of us. And those incidents at that moment, maybe we were quite upset with our parents for having, put a certain restriction on us. But now when we ask or when we find that our kids are doing the same thing, do you think as a parent, you are putting a restriction? So were your parents correct in their role? Are you correct in your role? Or are the kids correct in their role? And what is your take on this? Yeah, Adit can also.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, because.
I'm glad you asked this because I always used to feel ke mummy uggaच काय सांगते, हे restriction, ते restriction, असं नको करू, तसं नको करू. She always had something, and I always used to feel that it's too much of restriction, like. But when it comes to Kanika, and this point of time when I see ki all those things, whatever she said, I find myself saying the same thing to Kanika. So at that point of time, now I understand that what my mother used to say is 100% right, like.
So it's like karma pays back, no? Yes, Adit, as a father, how are you? Like, are you a very strict father, or are you quite lenient? Is your daughter very close to you or to Bhagyashree? Like, I would like to.
She is more close to Bhagyashree, but it depends on the time. Sometimes I'm strict, sometimes I'm more lenient. I'm exactly like my father.
And on a lighter note, I think it also depends on the demand she has. If she has a demand which she knows is going to be fulfilled by the mother, she'll be closer to her at that moment.
But making her understand things, actually. I mean, whatever query she has, or even about life, whatever explanations she wants, I think Adit does it very well. I'm not very good at explaining things, but Adit does it very well. Like anything, if something is wrong, he has to direct her towards something, being a good individual, inculcating good values. Adit is very good at it. I mean, telling her why it is so important.
Now, coming to Surud, I would like to ask you, because I have known you since you were in the 9th. I think we've lost connection with Surud. Can you hear me, Surud?
Yeah,
we can.
I'm just trying to switch networks because Wi-Fi.
Okay. No, the question that I had for you was, I have been, I mean, I know you since you were in your 13, 14, जो teenage का group था, तभी से मैंने तुमको देखा है. And you are a little, I mean, I always used to feel you're a genius kind of a person. So do you see your, your quality in any of your kids? And when you see that, do you feel that you were restricted? You were restricted as a, child from doing that, but you can't do the same thing to your child now?
Yeah, that's there. See, just to start off with, we've got twins, one boy and one girl, and they have equal qualities of our positive and negative qualities in each of them. So, the boy, I think, is a little more skewed towards my side because he is a little more self-sufficient. He doesn't need attention all the time. He will keep playing with one thing, and it's easy to keep him occupied. The girl on the other side, she needs attention. She needs stimulation all the time, and she's like Shweta. So,
these are like cheap shots on Valentine's.
No, Surud has got back even on you, Shweta, because he laughed at him loudly when he was called a genius.
No, because I knew what was coming.
So, now they just had their second birthday a couple of weeks back. So it's too early to predict what they will turn into. But right from the start, like going back to the question, where about girls for that matter, are they, how do we treat them? How what is the kind of difference that we see? So right from going back to when I was in 8th, 9th standard when I joined NEMLEKARS, kind of that distance or the difference in treatment was always apparent. Girls were always expected to be home at a certain time. 7-4 Gharat was a super date. So and for obvious reasons, that was the deadline that girls had, and boys were like, "Kabhi bhi aa jao ghar pe, as long as you come in one piece, it's fine." And I remember one picnic that we had gone out, I think Alibag or somewhere, where we had got stuck in traffic, and I think we got delayed by some 3 or 4 hours. And the dropping off point was Vittal Mandir, and I distinctly remember all of us getting down, and all the girls' parents were livid. Absolutely, you could see that anger in their faces. They grabbed the girls by the arms and just like dumped them into the rickshaw and took them home. Then later during the week, we had our conversations and all that on our way back. मेरे को बहुत गाली मिला. ये क्या टाइम है क्या वापस आने का? तुम लोग का टीचर को समझता नहीं है क्या? लड़का लड़की लोग को किधर भी लेके जाते हैं. And all of those, it was a different society, so to speak, at that time. But now, if you look at the way girls and boys are being raised, everything is equal. Even for our girl also, we consciously we make that effort, because we've got nannies at home who are from a different system.
Correct.
So when they ask Vibhor, my son, our son rather, Vibhor काय चालवणार, तो Vibhor bike चालवणार, आणि गाथा काय चालवणार, गाथा स्कूटी चालवणार.
What is गाथासाठी kitchenचा set
and for their birthday also,
Vibhorसाठी jeep आणलं.
Yeah, so they got a kitchen set for her, they got a jeep for the boy. So these are conditioned responses that exist beyond our sphere, which we can't do much about. But then, we try between the jeeps and the kitchen sets whenever we can. And to be frank, my boy likes the kitchen more.
And he likes dresses.
He likes dresses more.
So there are times that he has gone out of the house wearing dress, and we have trained the nannies to not tell him anything. And now they have started training the entire building to not tell him anything.
Very good.
So that's how those little changes happen. Otherwise, I think
we would be stuck in the same circle, right? लड़की लोग को ये नहीं करना है, लड़कियों को ये करना है, and all.
So those restrictions are sort of, I think we are trying to deal with the gender divide. But I think as as children, I think the restrictions are the same. Like, disciplining, respect, so being kind. I think those are things that even our parents taught us. Those are things that we will also try and teach our children. I think what is really different is that when we used to do anything that went against them, we were like beaten up, and we were told you are not supposed to do it, because there is no two ways about it. Whereas I think now as a parent, I at least consciously try and explain it to my child, no matter if they're just 2 years old, and try and explain to them why, because I think that's what I missed out on growing up. Because I wasn't told why I have to like pair chew of some elder, or why I have to like not call someone by name. So those things I try to answer for the kids, even though I think that some of it they understand, some of it they don't. But at least I try to.
Correct.
So that is one thing that I have consciously started doing as a restriction, as a change in the sort of the way we deal with the restriction. So that is one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Abhishek, you also have 2 kids, a girl and a boy. How are you finding the difference bringing them up? Like, as what Surud said, if in Surud's case, if his children go for a camp like how we had gone, and if the bus is delayed at the traffic or something, then he's going to grab his daughter by the arm and possibly leave the son. But what about you? Are you going to do some similar action, or you're going to have a different way of, treating the situation?
I think, ma'am, we all are selling the same boat. So when it comes to Niti, I'm stunningly protective. So it's pretty obvious, but I give her that liberty. So she can go out to play for a long time. The only thing is she has to keep us informed. And we do try and explain the rationale behind it, why exactly we are trying to say, so we make her understand. And once we do that, I think the kids today are matured enough that they understand what their parents are trying to tell them. And as per that, she responds, and she responds very affirmatively. Positively, she responds on that. So that's a good part. As far as my son is concerned, he is just 1 year old as of now. So the entire world is open for him. So there is no binding, there is no restriction. Whatever he does is, he is on his own. He's on autopilot at one point of time. So yeah. So there are 2 pilots who stay behind him, and his flight is always on the takeoff mode. So somebody is there. Whether he falls, whether he will pull something out. So he makes sure that even if we don't go out for a walk, that's fine. We still go around him in the house. I think that's good of an exercise for all of us.
Yeah, that's what Abhishek was telling me the other day. I would like to share it with the others. He said that his child was born during the lockdown period. I think sometime in March, if I'm not wrong. And
it was November 5th. He was born, and then after March 2020, we had this
lockdown. So he had something very nice to say, that his child has not seen human beings on the road at all. So this is something which is it's a very different situation, and I'm sure the child is going to be, as what you said, he's going to be a self-learner. So he's going to understand that these are creatures who look like us and who behave differently in different situations. So anyway, that's a good thing. I'm really happy that, there are such innovations also happening in this present situation. During this lockdown period, your children were connected to online coaching, either for their school or for their coaching classes. So how did you cope up with that? How did you manage that? Bhagyashree and Adit, both of you can take turns to answer, because...
About the studies, I think Adit would tell you better, because for this year the studies is completely unrestricted to him.
That is the reason I included him in this. Yes.
Coping up in the sense, there's nothing much to do. Once you let them off with the laptop, then they are on their own. But I could see, for a few days it was all exciting, but after that, for the kids at least it was very boring. At least my daughter keeps saying that she's waiting for the school to open. Because she gets very bored, because it's like a virtual world. You don't meet everyone. Her life has become exactly like mine now, because I work from home most of the time. So I'm always in a virtual world now. So her life is also becoming virtual.
And I would like to tell you one thing. Before lockdown, normally she is someone who would not like to go out of the house. She would always like to stay in the house, play in the house, everything in the house.
Okay, now continuing with our second phase of our discussion on parenting by parents who was children themselves in this very own, you can say, in this decade. Now, we were talking about online teaching and online coaching. So Adit was telling us something about how he managed his kids' education online. So can you throw some more light upon it?
Yeah, as I said, the initial days were they were a bit excited, because it was something new and the kids didn't have to go to school, so they were very excited. But as time went, they realized, it was more of a realization that, it's not like a real classroom, you don't have your friends, and, we as adults, we don't realize, we sit on the laptop for a long time, we don't realize, but it's actually very tiring for the kids,
Correct, yes.
Sometimes they feel very sleepy, they feel tired because they're not meant to study that way. So,
correct.
My daughter really misses going to school now. Earlier that was not the case, but now she really misses it. She understands, why correct. It's more important.
What about Janvi? I think you must have been more involved in Neeti's schooling and online education. So, how did you manage it? It was a different phase altogether for everyone.
Yes, actually. The thing is, Neeti is quite grown up now, so she manages herself the online classes, whatever queries she has. She asks me later on. But otherwise, she enjoys. Many times it happens that it happened last year when I was little depressed. I was little depressed that I was not able to meet my friends, and I was like, sometime we should go out or. Maybe you should plan out. And she only came up and said, why don't you have a virtual meeting? We all friends will meet regularly. So from her side, it is quite positive. I didn't face any such problems having online session, and where she's active in all the sessions, like having her classes online, meeting her friends, chatting with them, and having her activities online. So it is quite easy journey for me.
You also were having online coaching done yourself. I mean, you yourself were teaching students, if I'm not wrong.
No, actually, right now I took a break because my son is quite small. Okay. So this year, fortunately, in the lockdown period.
Because, I just wanted to know how it would be teaching and seeing your kid learn, online. So that would have been a very different aspect altogether.
This year was a break for me.
It was, correct. And Surud and Shweta, you both are work from home couples. So how did you manage your kids during this time? Obviously parents do help us, but then it must have been a trying time, keeping them occupied with something. So did you use the online, those animated videos and all that to keep them, occupied with something positive? What was your stance?
So I think the initial month was very, very difficult because we are, even though both our parents are close by to help, we are heavily dependent on our nannies and our maids because our work timings are such that we cannot expect our parents to sit and take care of twins for
correct,
7, 8 hours. So for the first, I think 3-4 months they were not there. So it was very, very difficult, and we then tried to figure a system out where one kid was sent to one parent and the other kid was sent to the other parent, and so we had to divide and rule because otherwise work was not happening. So work took a huge hit for us because both of us are fairly senior in the system, so we can't just take off. Initially, exactly. I think the first 2 weeks were very considerate, saying that theek hai, we understand, you take your time, and so we used to work only 2 hours a day. Then I think they also started seeing there is no sense in waiting anymore, and then they ramped us. So we had no choice but to do that. But yes, screen time did go up because for parents that is one way to help the kids to just calm down and when you just need your time. Correct, so for both my parents' screen time was there. And we had not kept a restriction, but we had told them to just keep it to a minimum. Right now, once the nanny started coming back home, now the screen time is only in the night, for half an hour before they sleep. Otherwise, no other screen.
Okay. But they don't miss
No, so yeah, they still like yearn for it, but we try and keep it up.
Okay, now being through these different phases of my teaching career, I have seen that, in the initial days, parents were always worried about the television being a distraction for children from their studies. Then came the phase when the cable TV came in and cable TV was a distraction, so parents used to complain. Then came the phase where, there was something called as the pool table. The children used to be addicted to pool table, and so that became a distraction. Then came the mobiles. Mobiles were a distraction. So every time parents had something to look up to blame for their children's academic inefficiencies. So when you grow up, maybe in the next 10 years, your children are going to be obviously, addicted to the mobile phones because it's going to be a part of their learning system. I'm not saying addicted in a negative way, but they've got a lot of online things to do. So what are you going to blame at that time? Are you going to blame some system, or are you going to accept it? Nothing.
I think it's a reality, right? Because even we are on our phones, whether we like it or not.
Correct,
so one is work, and the second is just stress buster, right? Every time that we wake up, and we also go to sleep with the phones in our face. So I don't expect the kids to get up and grow and do something really different. But it's just the value of doing other things also needs to be there. It can't just be screens. Screens is inevitable. We can't live without it. So that is something that I think I have made my peace with.
And
but
what about
they just need to know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. And I was just going on to Bhagyashree because, I wanted to ask her, you are a working parent. So how are you going to manage, flitting between your child's mobile addiction, which is going to come in the long run? You'll have to keep monitoring what they are watching, all these things. So how are you planned that you're going to tackle those issues?
Most of the times, ma'am, when I am in the clinic, my daughter is with my parents actually. Okay. So when she's with my parents, my mother anyways doesn't allow her to touch the mobile. That is one of the good factor. And she normally, if she's not touching the mobile, she's into some creative activities. She keeps on doing something, constructing something. So this is what she's doing currently. I really don't know in the future how it is going to happen because currently she listens to whatever I tell her, or if I explain her something. I'll try my best that in the future also I try to explain her the pros and the cons of mobile, and just I'm keeping my fingers crossed that she listens to me.
Correct, yes. And Abhishek, you are out on tour most of the time with your job, commitments. So how do you relate to your daughter, like, when you come back from your tour and you are with her, you spend time with her and you find her, busy on the mobile, either for a school homework assignment or something. How are you going to tackle those issues?
So what I do is when I am back home after a long tour, and I actually miss her whenever I'm on tour. Once I'm back, I ensure that I give the maximum time to her. I try and keep my mobile phone by and large away whenever I'm there with her. It's difficult. It's not that easy, but I still try and make some schedule. So whenever I'm back home, specifically maybe after 7:30 or 8, I stop taking calls. So I normally don't take calls and I spend time. So that's one thing that I've tried to do over a period of time. So usually people have an anxiety. I mean, when people works, right what Surut said, when people works in higher ranks, they are supposed to respond and reciprocate in time. But I have tried to use that button of on and off switch, wherein if I am home, I try and keep that button off.
That's very nice. That's a very nice thing.
I'm trying to keep that time for family. And so when I give my time to her and when I am with her, it happens that at times she is busy on the screen, but she also realizes that my dad has come after a long time and he's going to miss me. He is already missing me. So, that's when she comes over and she starts chatting. And we also try and make sure that, we watch some movie at the end of the day. Maybe it's on a Friday night, on a Saturday night when there are no commitment the next day morning. We end up watching a movie as well. So that's something that we do together. So that's the family time for us.
Very good, very good. Surud, what about you? I mean, you have chosen a career which is quite offbeat from what regular students of your generation would have done at that time. I'm talking about the 90s and early 2000s. How are you going to be responsible for your child or your children's career choice?
Career choices. I was just reading sometime or a couple of days back, saying what are the jobs of the future. Maybe my kids are just 2 now, but probably in another 15 years, 20 years, when they are old enough to start working, the kind of jobs are going to be drastically different than what we are seeing right now. One of the jobs was a biomechanical expert. So this person is someone who creates body parts out of or other, how do I put it? I don't want to say fake body parts, but these are engineered body parts. For example, there is already a work going on the lens which restores vision.
Okay.
There is a lens which has a zoom capacity. So, the bionic human is going to be a reality very soon. And that is the kind of jobs that people are going to be doing, creating or other engineering body parts. For example, we see a lot of these neuro receptors where people who have lost their arms and limbs can actually move, by attaching neuro sensors.
Regenerative cells, yeah.
This is going to be one important job in the future. There's going to be AI is coming up great. So most of the jobs are going to be in the technology, data-driven kind of a space, where probably creative work, music or art are also going to get taken over by AI in the future. And not to sound too dystopian, but the kind of Terminator vision that was on screen in the 90s, that is slowly coming true. So, given the choice of career, I think, as they can do whatever they want, as long as, it doesn't involve crime.
Correct.
Open up, because like when we were kids, you had only 3 streams, right? You had science, arts, and commerce.
Correct.
There was no specification of any sort. I figured out later that I could also do commercial arts, or maybe there is an applied art, an architecture or interior design in that creative route. Whereas if you go into science, then biotech was great at that time. Biotech was coming up. IITs, NIITs, the entire IT side of things was just it had just started coming up. So options had started opening up at that time, but still the knowledge about what to do, what do I want to do as a person was not there. Or rather, that sort of introspection wasn't there. But now, if I look at the kids these days, so the 8-10-year-olds, they know so many other jobs. I wouldn't say jobs, but they know so many other career options.
Correct. So the world has opened up for them. The world has opened up.
I cannot imagine someone saying that I want to be an Instagram influencer when I was 15 years old. क्या करेगा तो Instagram influencer करता क्या है? How do Instagram influencers earn money?
Correct.
And now it is a full-time job. A YouTuber is a full-time job. So a few years back, I had gone to Worli with some of my office colleagues to a YouTuber concert. It was something new for me, because what does a YouTuber do is a question for me, and why do they have to have awards is another question for me. But when I went there, I understood that okay, there is a different world out there. And because of the media explosion and the way it's going to go ahead in the future, I think careers are going to be aplenty. And
that means the conventional careers are going to be out, and there's something new and innovative going to come up. Yeah.
And unconventional is the way ahead, right?
And I think all of you as parents, all of you as parents are open to that. Like, you're not going to be like earlier how it was, like when the student was in the 10th standard, the relatives and all used to come and give their loads of advice, unwanted ones, of course, most of them, that, you should be a doctor or an engineer or, certain things which were fixed. But now things have changed. And now I think each one knows best what they're good at. And that's how the world has opened up. So it has been really a great thing, talking to you all about various kind. And I think as parents, you all are more open to suggestions, and I'm sure your children are very lucky to have you all as parents. Of course, time is going to tell us. Maybe after 10 years, when I interview when I interview your kids, I'll come to know.
When they grow up, we should share this recording with them. But one good thing is that it's not dependent on marks anymore. Or 90% hai to by default you're supposed to science whether you like it or not. And if you're in that unfortunate below 60%, to tumhare liye arts is reserved. So it's not like that anymore.
Correct. That's all. It's all a changed game. The entire thing system has changed. Like I have students who have scored 93 and above and who have taken arts as a very conscious decision because they wanted to do something in literature. So I think that's something really very nice. And the entire family and their society, termed them as crazy and mad for getting such a good score and going towards arts and literature. But I think that's, we need to change the mindset. I think what I would like to tell you is about, everyone keeps posting things on social media about so many career options any other thing which is there. So if your kids post something on let's say this is about 5 years from now. So if your kids post something on a Twitter or on any other social media and you find it objectionable, how are you going to control them? This is going to be a final question because this is something which is going to be in depth only. We'll take it a little forward ahead with that. So in case your kids after 5 years from now post something on a social media, which may not be what it is today, but some other thing, and you find that it's not correct or you find that it's objectionable, how are you going to tackle that issue? God forbid, this is not going to happen, but just let's assume that some situation like that comes in. How are you going to tackle it? Who wants to answer this first? You can raise your hand and start with it.
So I will answer that, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I think what's more important is if it is objectionable, if it is something wrong that somebody has posted, I think that person realizing it and correcting that mistake there and there itself would be the primary thing. And to make sure that they understand what's wrong and what's right, I think it's more to do with our education and upbringing.
Exactly. So your upbringing is very important.
Exactly. Yeah. And one thing that has been passed on to generation, I think, is the values. आपण ज्याला संस्कार म्हणतो मराठीमध्ये. I think that is really important. I think you should impart that and then leave the rest to the faith of the kid. I think that's because these kids today are smart. Correct. They know what's good for them, what's bad for them. And irrespective of the situation, I am sure they will make wonders in life. Correct. They will do wonders. They will excel. And as what Suru rightly suggested, the careers are going to be absolutely different. Their job profiles are going to be different. What they do is going to be something different. They may not follow the same path what we have followed. So they will do the right thing and they will achieve what they want. So if anybody makes a mistake, I think we should trust them. We should allow them to correct themselves. And I think all should be fine then after.
That's a very open-minded behavior. It's a very nice attitude that you have put in forth. Bhagyashree, what do you like to add on this?
I feel if it is something objectionable, obviously I will say something to her. I will try to make her understand that whatever has been posted or whatever has been said is not right. In my own way, I would like to explain her how it is wrong. If she understands, that would be better. But as said just now, Abhishek said just now, the way we do the upbringing of our kids and whatever values we give to our kids, making them a good individual, basically imparting them good values, that itself will help us in the future so that they won't do any such kind of a thing. And if it does happen, as I said, we would try to improve them or maybe guide us in the right way. Hopefully they should listen to us.
Of course they will, because your upbringing is really going to be great. I know that. What about you, Surud? Surud and Shweta, both of you together.
Yeah. I'll answer first. Yeah. See, objectionable for it all depends on what the content is, right? So something that's objectionable to me might not be objectionable to my child.
Yeah. So it's relative.
It's relative, but then if I find that something that he or she has posted is objectionable, obviously it is it is something that demands that sort of a discipline or that reaction, then the first thing is to make them understand why it is objectionable. Because maybe it is to one person or to a certain section of the society, or maybe as a whole, it is not the right stand to take, and the reasoning behind it, and then make them delete it with an apology, saying that I did this because this is the reason, and I find that it was not in the right taste, something that a PR-led approach would normally happen, right, in a situation like this.
Okay.
So yeah, that is probably the way to go about it, and then make sure that they understand the repercussions of this. Because what happens is, any sort of a negative action has two sources. One is nurture, and the other is nature.
Correct.
If by nature the child is missed to get that sort of response from other people as a validation, then that nature needs to be changed. If it is nurture, then it's either something wrong that we have done, or maybe they are picking up from their peers.
Correct.
So if we need to we will always try to be as correct or as so to say unobjectionable as possible. But it also depends on the kind of people that they hang around with. The school has an influence, the kind of language or the kind of friends they have, that obviously has an influence. So then finding a source is also equally important. They might be egged on by someone.
Okay, the last question I would like to ask you all is just to be answered by each couple with a yes or no. Is that if you find your children have chosen friends who are not suitable for them, according to you, but they may be good. Like, always parents find that their children choose the wrong company. Like you were told maybe by your parents, kid, so-and-so person is not a good friend for you, is not a good company to be in. So in case you find that your child isn't getting friendly, is getting into the company of someone who you find is not so good. So would you tell your child openly about it? Yes or no? Ageshri?
Yes, I would tell it openly.
Very good. What about Abhishek?
Yes, we would.
Definitely.
And what about Surud?
Yes, I think, yes, I will tell them. I can't hope for them to change, but at least let our opinion.
But then don't you think then you will be carrying forward the same flag which your parents must have done for you? They must have chosen friends for you. And you may not have wanted to be friendly with such people, and the friends you chose, your parents would not have liked them. So don't you think you're going the same track?
Yeah, it is the same thing only. As I said, it's exactly the same world that we are in. Maybe the nuts and bolts have changed now. But as I said, it is about having that conversation, which I don't think, at least for me growing up, wasn't there. That conversation of why is this right or why is that wrong. And if I respect it, I would.
Very good.
If my child respects it, then great. Otherwise, can't do much about it.
Yes,
I think conversation was not a part of anybody's childhood. Especially of our generation. It was a mandate that this is. It was binary, 0 or 1.
Correct.
It is my way or the highway. Probably what is happening today is these kids, because they are so very open to information and all other things, and so very vocal, they are aggressive as well. So that is also a reason why I think there is more of a consultative kind of an approach where we talk to them, we chat to them, where we try and be their friends, and then we try and win them over. I think winning them over is the best part of it. Okay. And then what happens if we win them over, then I think that thing stays for a long time.
The job is done. Correct. Yeah. So I think we'll wind up on this positive note that, you're all excellent parents and you're going to bring up your kids in the most awesome manner. And today being Valentine's Day, each one of you is with your Valentines. So wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day. I would also like to tell you that those people with whom you were romantically involved in your college days, you have got married to those people. So, happy life further for you also. And I would like to tell you one thing, because, coming from the background of mathematics coaching, maths has got a constant and a variable as an expression, correct? The constant factor in all our lives is going to be love, for which we celebrate this day, and the variable factor, the people with whom we share that love. So let our lives be full of mathematical expressions with full of love. And it was really great having all of you here. Thank you, Bhagyesh and Adit. Thank you, Abhishek and Janvi. Thank you, Surud and Shweta. Wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day and future times ahead. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Good talk.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.